What happens when Hollywood's most respected actress meets a talk show host who thinks he can push anyone around? What you're about to hear will shock you. Tonight, we're diving into the explosive confrontation between Meryl Streep and Jimmy Kimmel that ended with security escorting the 3-time Oscar winner off the set. Before we get into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Who do you think could out-debate Jimmy Kimmel? It started as a routine, promotional appearance. Meryl had agreed to come on Jimmy Kimmel Live to discuss her latest film, a powerful drama about media manipulation and the ethical responsibilities of journalism. The irony of what unfolded that night wasn't lost on anyone. As Meryl walked onto the stage, the audience erupted in enthusiastic applause. She waved graciously, her trademark smile lighting up her face as she settled into the guest chair. The cameras rolled. The audience quieted. Jimmy opened with his usual charm. "So, Meryl, it's great to have you back on the show," he said, grinning. "I have to ask, in your new movie, you play a journalist who refuses to back down from powerful people. Is that something you relate to personally?" She shifted slightly, thoughtful. "Well, Jimmy, I think anyone in the public eye has moments where they have to choose between speaking the truth and staying silent. It's about courage, standing by your principles, even when it's uncomfortable." Jimmy's grin widened, but it wasn't quite the same. There was a subtle shift in the air. "That's interesting," he said, "because I've heard you've got some strong opinions about certain political figures. Care to share with our audience tonight?" The question hung in the air like a trap. Meryl straightened in her seat. "Jimmy, I'm here to talk about the film and the themes it explores. I'd prefer to keep the focus on the work." "Oh, come on, Meryl," he pressed, leaning in, the grin sharpening. "Our audience loves it when celebrities get political. Don't you think you owe it to them to speak your mind? You've never exactly been shy about your opinions." There was something in his tone, needling, calculated, that made the studio feel suddenly colder. The audience sensed it too, excitement dimmed to unease. "I think there's a difference," she said, calm but firm, "between having opinions and being ambushed with them during a promotional interview. I came here to talk about a film that explores the ethics of journalism. Maybe we should focus on that." Jimmy chuckled, but the warmth was gone. Media responsibility. That's rich coming from someone who lectures half the country at award shows. "Tell me, Meryl, do you think celebrities should stick to entertaining? Or do you think you have a right to influence politics just because you're famous?" The question was loaded. Meryl recognized it instantly. She'd faced difficult directors, handled aggressive press. But this wasn't an interview. It was a setup. "Every citizen has the right to speak," she replied carefully. "But I also believe in timing and context. A promotional interview might not be the best venue for the kind of ambush you seem to be attempting." The word ambush hit hard. Jimmy's smile faltered just briefly, then reappeared like a cracked mask. "Ambush? That's a strong word, Meryl. I'm just asking questions. Isn't that what journalists do? I thought you'd appreciate that, given your new movie." "There's a difference between asking questions and trying to create controversy," Meryl said evenly. "Good journalists inform. They don't set traps for their guests." The studio went silent. Even the production crew had frozen. Jimmy's friendly demeanor was slipping. "You know what, Meryl?" he said, colder now. "Maybe you're right. Let's talk about your movie. This crusading journalist character. Is she based on someone in particular? Someone who thinks they're morally superior to everyone else?" Meryl's eyes flickered. Are you suggesting that standing up for ethics makes someone morally superior? Because if that's your position, I think you're proving the point of the film better than any trailer could. I'm suggesting, Jimmy shot back, voice rising, that some people in this town think they can lecture the world from their ivory towers, that just because they can memorize lines and cry on cue, their opinions matter more than everyone else's. The insult was sharp, calculated to sting. But Meryl wasn't flustered. She didn't rise to it. She leaned back, calm and composed, and looked at him like a disappointed teacher. That's an interesting perspective. From someone who makes jokes about people's personal lives for a living. The audience didn't laugh. They didn't clap. They watched, stunned, as the tension snapped into something undeniable. And within minutes, it would spill off camera. Security called in, interviews cut short, and one of Hollywood's most revered icons walking away without another word. The moment went viral. Millions watched. But one question still remains. Who was really in the wrong? The actress who refused to play along, or the host who pushed too far? She said quietly, "Tell me, Jimmy, when you're writing material that mocks someone's appearance, their relationships, their struggles, do you ever think about the human being behind the punchline? Or are they just content to you?" The question landed hard. Jimmy's face flushed, and for a moment, the polished veneer of his TV persona fell away completely. "At least I don't pretend to be something I'm not," he snapped. "At least I don't stand on stages acting like I'm saving the world while cashing multi-million-dollar paychecks. And there it is," Meryl replied, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. "The real Jimmy Kimmel, not the friendly guy next door you sell to your audience, but someone who clearly resents successful women who speak their minds, someone who thinks making money disqualifies a person from caring about real issues." The accusation detonated in the studio. Jimmy's face went from red to pale in seconds, his mouth opening and closing as he scrambled for a response. But Meryl wasn't finished. "You want to talk about resentment?" Jimmy finally said, voice cracking slightly. "You come on my show, act like you're too good to answer a few simple questions, and then you psychoanalyze me on national TV?" Meryl remained unnaturally calm, which only seemed to infuriate him more. "I'm not psychoanalyzing you, Jimmy. I'm responding to your behavior. You invited me here under the pretense of discussing my work, then immediately tried to trap me into making political statements you could turn into viral sound bites. When I didn't play along, you got hostile. That's not analysis. It's observation." "Hostile." Jimmy's voice rose again. His professional mask had slipped, replaced with open aggression. "You're the one who threw around words like ambush and started lecturing me about media responsibility. Because that's what my film is about," Meryl replied, her voice steady. "You could have asked about my character, the directors, the research I did, the process, but instead you made it personal. Why?" Jimmy leaned forward, gripping the edge of his desk. "You know what your problem is, Meryl. You think being a great actress makes you a great person. You think just because you can cry on cue, you get to tell everyone else how to live. I've never told anyone how to live their lives," she answered. "But I will defend my right to have an opinion, just like any other citizen. The difference is, when you disagree with me, you've got a show to use as a weapon. When I disagree with you, I have to sit here and smile through it." The studio audience was dead silent, watching the exchange unfold like a slow-motion train wreck. Even the crew had frozen in place. Jimmy let out a bitter, joyless laugh. "Oh, poor Meryl Streep. the victim of mean old Jimmy Kimmel. Do you hear yourself? You're one of the most powerful people in Hollywood, and you're sitting here acting like you're oppressed because someone dared to ask you tough questions. Tough questions? Meryl's eyebrows rose slightly, her first visible crack. Is that what this is? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks more like a tantrum. From a man upset his guest won't perform on command. Perform on command? Jimmy's voice hit a higher pitch, his face red with frustration. You're an actress, Meryl. Performing is literally your job. And right now, you're giving a masterclass in playing the victim. Her expression darkened. For the first time, her voice carried an unmistakable edge. You know what, Jimmy? You're absolutely right. I am an actress, and as an actress, I know bad acting when I see it. This nice guy persona, this fake friendly late-night host character you play, it's just that, a performance, and frankly, not a very convincing one. The words landed with brutal clarity. Jimmy's mouth opened, speechless, his expression a confused blur of rage, disbelief, and wounded ego. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and venomous. At least I don't hide behind fake tears and pretend it's art. At least I don't. Manipulate people's emotions for money, and then act like I'm doing them a favor. Fake tears. Meryl's voice was icy now, every syllable sharp as glass. Is that what you think acting is? Emotional manipulation for profit? That's a fascinating perspective. From someone whose entire career is built on mocking people, who don't have a platform to defend themselves. Jimmy stood suddenly, knocking his chair backward with a harsh scrape across the studio floor. You're fighting back pretty well right now, aren't you? Jimmy snapped, sarcasm dripping from his voice. In fact, you almost seem like you're enjoying this. Is that your thing, Meryl? Show up on talk shows, stir up drama, and hope it boosts your box office? Meryl stood, her posture stiff, with restrained fury. No, Jimmy. This is what I do when someone invites me under false pretenses, tries to bait me into controversy, and throws a fit when I don't play along. This is what I do when someone confuses their platform for power and their audience for validation. Jimmy flung an arm toward the silent crowd. Validation? These people came to be entertained, not to get scolded by someone who thinks she's morally superior. They came to laugh, not to be talked down to. I've never said I'm better than anyone, Meryl replied, her voice rising now. But I am better than this. Better than letting you tear me down for ratings. And if you had a shred of integrity as a host, you'd be better than this too. Jimmy's complexion paled, then flushed a furious red. His hand trembled slightly as he pointed at her. Integrity? You want to talk about integrity? You come on my show, insult me, insult my audience, and then act like you're some righteous moral compass? I criticized your behavior, Jimmy, not you. There's a difference, Meryl shot back, though I understand why you wouldn't see it. When someone's behavior becomes a pattern, it gets harder to separate the person from it. Jimmy's voice cracked. You don't know anything about me, what I've worked for, what I've sacrificed. You sit in your mansion in the hills and judge people like me, people who actually connect with real Americans. Meryl's laugh was sharp, cold. Real Americans? You mean the ones you mock every night under the guise of satire? I've met real Americans. I've worked alongside them. Most of them have more class in their pinky finger than you're showing right now. That landed like a punch. Jimmy tensed, his whole body rigid. When he finally spoke, his voice was a near growl. Class. Classy people don't hijack someone else's show. They don't lecture their hosts about ethics while playing the victim. And classy people don't ambush guests for sport, Meryl replied without missing a beat. They don't weaponize their platform to settle personal scores or patch up their own insecurities. But clearly, we define class differently. Jimmy stormed around his desk, closing the distance between them. Security along the edges of the stage began to shift uncomfortably. "You know what your real problem is, Meryl?" he said, leaning forward. "You've been surrounded by yes-men for so long. You've forgotten how to handle a challenge. You've forgotten what it's like to be treated like a regular person instead of Hollywood royalty. And you," she countered coolly, "have hidden behind a smug grin and a laugh track for so long, you think cruelty is just another punchline." "Cruelty?" Jimmy's voice was rising, his restraint unraveling. "You want to talk cruelty? How about the assistants you fired? The crew members you've ignored? Stop!" Meryl's voice turned to ice. "Just stop. You're grasping now, and you're embarrassing yourself. This isn't comedy, Jimmy. This isn't entertainment. It's just pathetic." That word, pathetic, shattered something inside him. His face contorted. The polished TV persona finally gave way to something raw, unfiltered. "Pathetic!" he exploded. "I've built something real. I make people laugh. I help them forget their problems for a while. What do? Pretend to be other people and act like that makes you superior." Meryl didn't flinch. She looked at him the way a scientist might observe a volatile specimen. "You're proving my point better than I ever could. Look at you. Look at what this has become. Is this the man you want your audience to see? Don't you dare try to analyze me!" Jimmy spat, pointing a finger at her. "You're not my therapist. You're not my mother. You're just another entitled celebrity thinking you can stroll in here and dictate how I do my job. I'm not telling you how to do your job," Meryl replied steadily. "I'm questioning whether what you're doing can even be called a job, because from where I'm standing it looks a lot more like a public meltdown." Jimmy's hands trembled. "A meltdown? No. The only thing breaking down here is your act. That sweet, dignified Meryl Streep routine. It's done. This is real life. And in real life, actions have consequences." "Yes," Meryl said, her voice soft but cutting. "And the consequence of your actions tonight is that millions of people are going to see exactly who you are when the cameras are rolling, and you think you have the upper hand." Jimmy let out a jagged, bitter laugh. "You want to talk power? I have the power to end this interview. I have the power to expose you for who you really are. I have the power to..." "To what?" Meryl cut in, her voice steely. "Throw a tantrum on national television. Prove everything I've said?" The stage lights didn't flicker, but somehow the atmosphere dimmed. Neither of them moved, and no one else dared to breathe. "You're exactly the kind of petty, insecure bully people always suspected you were," Meryl said coldly. "Congratulations, Jimmy. Tonight you've really shown us all your power." Jimmy's face went through a series of rapid color shifts before settling into a dark, flushed purple. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and dangerous. "Get off my stage." The studio froze. Even the soft hum of the cameras seemed to vanish. Meryl tilted her head, as though she hadn't heard him correctly. "Excuse me?" "You heard me?" he growled. "Get off my stage. This is my show, my studio, and I want you gone. Now." Meryl didn't flinch, but something in her stance shifted, subtle, quiet, and unmistakable. The actress was gone. In her place stood a woman who had reached the absolute limit of her tolerance. "Your stage," she said, voice calm but cutting. "This isn't your stage, Jimmy. This is television. It belongs to the network, to the advertisers, to the audience. You're just the guy they pay to sit behind that desk. And right now, you're doing a terrible job of it." "Security!" Jimmy bellowed, his voice cracking. "I want her out of here. Now!" From the shadows, several large men in dark suits moved toward the stage. Their expressions were professionally blank, but the hesitation in their steps betrayed uncertainty. This wasn't a situation they were trained for. Meryl watched them approach with serene composure. "You're seriously having me escorted out because I wouldn't let you bully me? Because I called out your unprofessional behavior? This is your solution?" Jimmy spat. "My solution is to remove toxic people from my environment. My solution is not letting some entitled celebrity waltz in here and disrespect me, my audience, and everything I've built." "Toxic?" Her voice carried a note of disbelief. "Jimmy, I came here to talk about a movie. You made it political. You made it personal. You're the one who's been shouting and flailing like a child. And I'm the toxic one?" The guards reached the edge of the stage, but stopped. No one moved. Jimmy saw their hesitation. His voice rose in desperation. "Did I stutter? Remove her. She's trespassing. She's disrupting. I'm sitting in a chair, calmly answering questions." Meryl interrupted. "The only one disrupting your show is you. The only one making a scene is you. And the only one who's going to regret this tomorrow morning is, you guessed it, you. I'll never regret getting rid of a condescending, self-righteous. Stop talking." Her voice sliced through his rant like a scalpel. "You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your crew. Look around you, Jimmy. Look at your staff, your audience. Do you see admiration, respect, or do you see people horrified by what you've become tonight?" Jimmy's eyes flicked around the room. His band, his crew, the production assistants, even his warm-up guy. Their faces weren't cheering. They were frozen, uncomfortable, ashamed. The fire in him dimmed. But what replaced it was something worse. Desperation. "Get her out," he said to the guards again, more softly now. "Please, just get her out of here." Meryl rose slowly, collecting her purse with quiet dignity. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll save you the trouble." She turned to the audience. Her voice rang through the studio like a bell. "I wouldn't stay on this stage another minute if you paid me. But I want everyone here to remember what they saw tonight. They saw a professional woman come to do her job. And they saw a man in power try to humiliate her for not playing along." She looked directly at the cameras now. "You saw someone confuse having a microphone with having authority. Someone who used his platform not to inform, not to entertain, but to attack. And you saw what happens when someone like that gets challenged by someone who refuses to be intimidated." Jimmy opened his mouth, but his voice barely came out. "Are you finished?" Meryl turned to him, calm and composed. "I'm finished, Jimmy. The real question is, are you? Because after tonight, when people see how you behave when you don't get your way, they might start asking whether they want to keep watching a man who treats guests like this." She turned and walked off stage without another word, her head high, her back straight. At the edge of the stage, she paused just once. "Good luck explaining this to your bosses tomorrow," she said softly. And then she was gone. Jimmy stood alone, in the center of the stage. The audience remained silent. His crew looked down or away, as if wishing they could vanish. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of his unraveling. In the control room, a producer was already dialing a Fourier's phone. Voice tight with panic, trying to salvage the wreckage. But it was too late. The damage was done, and everyone knew it.